So, let me ask each of you, what was the last one that we covered when you were in class? I think we did, well, I'll just let you answer, if you remember.
I think it was double dragons.
I think it's the last one we did, period, so I guess you were here on the last class of the year. Oh, maybe not. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think so.
Yeah. And have you done the one on double dragons before?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Well, let's go to rhinoceros gazes at the moon, number 6. So just go ahead and show me your rhinoceros. Whatever face you want to hit both sides. And one more each one, or 2 total each one. Very good. So let's do this. Come watch Mike. Yeah, come watch me. I'll probably just do once each side. And no one's watching. Made a little extra adjustment on that side. I don't know. This side I went pretty much right to it. This side I was like, oh wait, I'm not quite here. I went a little farther, so that's all. But did you notice anything, or do you have any questions, comments, or suggestions?
I think you're sinking a lot deeper than I am.
Okay.
And then I think your arms would be back forward too. But I don't know if that's just a flexibility thing or.
So good observation on the sinking. That's a big part of it, to get the correct alignment. And the going farther thing, that's you know that's kind of like something we wouldn't emphasize right at first, but once you're sort of in it with the correct alignment, then it's okay to kind of like stretch it a little bit farther to try to get that max. He talks about kind of maximum extension, and using that kind of terminology in someone's first class will get things real out of whack. So yeah, but yes, that's I feel like my process of learning through this is for a long time I was just like, okay, I'm not going to try to go farther at all, and at some point they're like, okay, you can go a little farther now. I'm like, oh, okay. So I think some people are more like they want to go as hard as they can all the time, but that's just how it went for me. Does that make sense? Any others?
So your arm, there's no bend there, it's out and out.
There's no like in kindness?
Well, like you don't want to always straighten your arm all the way, but you want to straighten.
Correct. Oh yeah, very
so-
good, yeah. So let it go past your feeling of straight and straight. Yeah. So, and we talked about in applications, and generally you should always keep a little bend in your elbow. You don't let it extend all the way just because it's easy to hurt that way, right? But in this one, I don't think about straightening my elbow, but in stretching through my
When you
fingers.
stretch, you can see it, yeah. Okay. So I think when I do it, I'm like, okay, I'll do it, you know, and just in my head, it's like, don't
Little,
straighten
yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, this one you can go ahead and let it, yeah. And you'll feel a contrast between that and the arm that doesn't get to. Okay, very good. Cool. So good questions. Let me just go over the common mistakes that I'll usually see, and then I'll help you guys a little more. So, number one common mistake, and usually it's someone who just begins and it just kind of isn't aware at all. You'll see this. None of y'all did this, but you'll see this. It's just a subconscious way to try to get more distance. And what you want to do is not let this leg straighten or come in or let the hips shift. So sometimes when I'm working on this, I might remember like, just keep the right leg bent. Just keep the right leg from moving. Keep the right leg bent. And you start to find different places to move from, which is turning the weights and things like that. The other thing is, yeah, not letting the hips tilt. Try to keep the hips level, both legs bent. As you sort of twist through the body and get whatever range you can with those insertions, right? And then once you're getting range without them moving, then you would try to go a little farther and see like, oh, if I'm here and I go a little farther, I start to straighten, like, no, okay, back off, and sort of just playing in that range. Does that make sense? Cool. And the other one's subtle, and it's not committing forward. It reminds me of like trying to learn to dive or something. So don't dive into this floor. It's not as nice as a pool. It is a safety pool. But, so what that'll look like is, I think it may be a good thing, like the correct idea of like, I'm trying to keep my head suspended. But on this one, it might help to just go forward a little more and twist from there, and almost feel like you might do a shoulder roll, more of a low back roll. But does that make sense? So like, yeah, thinking like you might go over that way. Yeah, I think those are the main ones. There's a few tips that he has in his description, and one of those is to let the arm sweep out. So when we're working internally, I think correctly, we'll think about the hips or the waist or something, and sometimes the arm gets real tense. Sometimes it's good to just let the arm sweep out and let your arm do some of the turning, and just be free with it. I think that's all that comes to mind. So, okay, let's practice a little more. We started basic training legs, so I'm going to go a little bit longer on black stash. So go ahead and get into it. And just alternate sides, and I'll come to you individually and just try to work little corrections or improvements. Good, you feel a little more sinking? Good. Good. Sorry. Shift on. Yes, the waist working to turn. There it is. Subtle, but sorry. Less touching. And then I don't know if this will make a difference or not, just think about maybe pushing the ball foot into the ground just a little bit. And I know with these shoes, maybe it is, and I can't tell maybe, but if it's,
I mean, sometimes it is, it definitely.
yeah. Sometimes one thing I've started using for myself is to make sure I can feel my big toe touching, which is a little weird, yeah. But one more each way. Take your time, no rush. In the book, he says, once you get to your furthest extension with continuous breathing, hold 8 to 10 seconds. I kind of roughly go by that in class, but it's also just kind of by feel. And the last one. Okay, yeah, very good. Cool. So I'm just going to highlight 2 more things he says in here just because I like them. One is about the rounded arm. The focus generally goes to the straight arm, but the rounded arm, keep the, in this case, left arm in a rounded shape so that you feel the connection between the 2 hands through the upper torso, as if all were one solid piece united by the line of tendons along the arms. There's kind of a lot in there, but the arm in a rounded shape so you feel the connection between the 2 hands, as if all were one solid piece united by the line of tendons along the arms. So if you can get into it and just even imagine your tendons and feel the connection between the hands. It's sort of a trick, I think, to keep from closing off in any place that would block that feeling and letting it be open and connected and rounded. Does that make sense? Okay. And then the last thing is repeat the sequence. The important points of this stance are tucking in the pelvis, turning the toes in, and positioning the knees over the toes. Maintaining the roundness of the arms through the upper body and the continuous tension at the point of maximum twisting are the specific goals of the exercise. So, kind of talking about the roundness of the arms and connection again, but the continuous tension at the point of maximum twisting, like that doesn't sound very relaxing, right? But remember, it's like the tension of a tuned string on an instrument, right? It's not too tense, but it's not limp. It's going to sort of find that in between. Does that all make sense? Theoretically, at least. Any other questions, comments, or suggestions on this posture? No? I just want to demonstrate one more thing before we bow out. In your form, in the middle, in the intermediate and advanced sections, or the middle and last section, there's a move called cloud hands, which is a lot like this move if you didn't take it quite to the extreme. So if you have this and you just started to turn this much, but then you reverse direction and you turn this much, and you didn't go over, right? And then if you started walking sideways while you did that, this is, I think maybe some of you have covered this in other units. This is, it's like, or you could think of, if you already knew cloud hands, you could think of rhinoceros as a cloud hand that just goes, we're too far over. So just a little connection for you. All right, let's do our life skill. We've got the persistent action, the snake. Path of self-mastery requires persistent action. Persistent action achieves a goal without quitting. Path of self-mastery requires persistent action. Persistent action achieves a goal without quitting. Path of self-mastery requires persistent action. Persistent action achieves a goal without quitting. Sorry, I went kind of fast. We'll do those. We'll go over those again if you want some more detail on that. Good work, though. About 2 beginner students. Anyone else watching? Live test training dismissed. Very good.